Welcome to We Run This Town podcast, the official podcast of Gulf Winds Track Club, serving our area runners for almost 50 years. Our podcast is designed to support our runners in the Big Bend area, whether you're a beginning runner or an elite runner, offering education, entertainment, and encouragement on all topics running. Let's get running with today's episode. You know, today's unique because I've got some good friends with me, Jeff Bowman, Tina Bahmer, two good friends of Gulf Winds Track Club, who have been in the triathlon scene. So we're here today, try, and try again. A conversation about our triathlete club, Gulf Winds Tri Club. We're going to talk about triathletes, and then we're going to talk about triathlons, you know. So really excited to have the two of you here. Thank you for giving us this time. I know you're busy, especially coming after the holidays. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey.
Yeah. I do want to go ahead and take a point of privilege because we are just coming off of an exciting weekend here in Tallahassee. And I think both of you, or at least one of you, maybe two, were out there at the World Cross Country Championships this weekend. So I want to dedicate at least, a minute or two to that. Like, what do you think about that impressive weekend here in Tallahassee, world-class event? What do you think about it? What's your takeaway?
An incredible event. I mean, the community did such a phenomenal job hosting all the athletes, bringing them in. It was seamless. The energy was off the charts. The performance was great. The course was challenging. I mean, we had so many spectators, whether you're an athlete or you did the fun run, you were a spectator. It was fantastic all around. I think we're very fortunate to have hosted it. Yeah. My kids did it. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jeff, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I echo everything that Tina said. The one thing that struck me, though, was Tallahassee, small podunk town. I was born here. The World Cross Country Championship, it's like, what the heck is it? So it really didn't hit me until we got there and we saw the athletes. And I go, these are Olympic athletes. They're the best in the world. And, it was just awesome. Amazing experience.
I mean, kudos to, of course, Leon County, City of Tallahassee, Gulf Winds Track Club, again, Judy and the team that were, heading up the volunteers. But, Brian Corbin and Bob Brayman and the original folks to come up with that idea, years ago to turn the land into a world-class facility. It was a runner's paradise. I posted about it. To me, that was a runner's paradise.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention regarding that was I saw so many people from 30 years ago from the club that were, superstar runners back then, but they were spectating and volunteering, and that was another special thing for me.
Yeah. I was proud to be a part of it and have the kids run it. And when you talk about the performances that you're watching, very humbling, because even the next day, we went out, we ran in the national USATF club championships, cross country. My boys were like, how did you do, Daddy? I was on the Gulf Winds team, right? And I came in 140th place.
Yeah, I believe it.
I still ran like a 41-minute 10K
right,
at my age.
That's
which is not bad, right, But it was so humbling, though, to have people from around the country come that are super fast. Like my age group, the guy that won ran a 34 or 33-minute 10K. It's 55 plus. That's getting it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So overall, though, just I hope they come back. What a wonderful weekend in Tallahassee. But let's get to today's conversation, right? So try, and try again. Who knew that Gulf Winds Track Club had a tri club as well? I didn't really know much about it until a few years ago. So we want to start today's conversation with a little bit of history, talk a little bit about the club itself, right? So get into things like, when the club started itself, what the club offers to potential members, current members here in the community, trainings, events, all of that, board service. So all things club. And again, you two are here because I know you're involved in the club. You've got a history of triathlons. You participate in them as well. So I don't think there's two people more knowing about this subject than you two. So who wants to tackle kind of the history of the club, like how it came about and how long it's been around?
I'll do that. I did a little bit of research,
Sure.
Went back and looked at some bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
The club was established in 1998, officially in conjunction with the track club. There were several iterations before that. that were just unofficial, where we would have a group of friends get together, we would have a monthly meeting, and then do training events. I don't know if you remember Bob Keller and Stacia Keller. They were instrumental. They were there early on. And there was a guy named Bob McDonald who was he was an officer of the Mad Dog triathletes in St. Pete. He was living here doing a contract job, and he had experience promoting getting a club growing. And so he did a lot of work for us, and Bob was instrumental in officially getting the club off the ground.
Okay.
So 1998, 1999 time frame.
So over 20 years. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes, and unofficially back another 10, 15 years.
Okay.
And some of the other longtime triathletes that have been in the club, Mike Wyant was instrumental in helping, and Kathy McDarris,
Okay.
who we all know.
And the primary mission of the club is what? I mean, general terms.
Basically promote triathlon, getting people into the sport, whether you're brand new or you're a veteran, getting people together to share ideas, go to events, camaraderie at events, having dinners before a race, patting each other on the back after the race.
Yeah. Okay. And how many members do we have, active members in the club now? Do we know?
I would say, I don't know the exact number, 250 maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you talk about club, how do I join? What are the member benefits primarily? So if I were joining tomorrow, what am I getting out of it?
Okay. Well, it's really easy to join.
Yeah.
Like as Jeff mentioned, it's part of Gulfwinds Track Club. So you just go online, gulfwinds.org, and there's a triathlon section in there. It says join here. It's really affordable. The track club is $20 a year. So for the cost of a burger, $15 more, you can get an
Especially
entire...
nowadays, burgers are a lot more than they used to be.
That's probably a McDonald's or burger.
Yeah.
But it's very inexpensive. For $15 a year, you can get yourself a membership to the track club and the tri club. Or I'm sorry, for $15 additional, you can become the triathlon club member.
Okay.
So for a total of $35, you get both benefits of both clubs.
Okay.
In terms of the benefits, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's
I mean, we only have an hour, so
yeah,
don't go through all of them.
There's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a lot. We partner with a lot of the different organizations in town, so you can get discounts on races, fleet feet, online gear, anywhere from 10 to 50% discount on Rudy Project, the feed. So you get nutrition, you get gear, and that's just some of the partnerships. Within the club, you get access to tons of knowledge. You have trainers, you have training programs, you have group runs, group rides,
Okay.
you have monthly meetings. I mean, it's just, you have support, camaraderie, you have
Yeah.
friendship. There's just...
When are the meetings, though? By the way, because you mentioned the word meetings. So when are the meetings?
The meeting, yeah, go ahead.
They're on the third Monday, every third Monday at 6:30 at Moe's.
Okay.
And we do a social from 6:30 to 7, and then there's the meeting at 7 o'clock, and we pull in a guest speaker. And that can be anybody in the community on various disciplines, from running to nutrition to training programs, you name it.
So the education piece there, again, similar to our podcast, we try to help bring some education to folks on some things. So the club does that as well.
Absolutely.
And good point on the membership, too, because I just renewed our family membership this morning. I was a little delayed in it, but I do the Gulfwinds Tri family membership, which includes the Gulfwinds Running Club membership. So for $50, I got 4 people
Absolutely.
as members. Yes.
And for me, it was a package deal. It was
Yeah, that's right.
It was a huge discount. So
Yeah.
it's a great way to get the family involved in an affordable way.
Yeah. So the education piece, training's part of it, right? You mentioned a couple things. Any other training things to share? If you become a member of the club, what am I open to? What can I take advantage of?
Actually, the sky is the limit, pretty much. We do try to do open water swims every year out at McClay Gardens. We have weekly rides that we do, and sometimes they might not be club related, but we can we can direct you to the right spot or the right group that's appropriate for you. We have runs, multiple runs a week. There's 3 or 4 city pools that have workouts every week. And so there's just so many opportunities. You know, whether you work out at 6 a.m. or you work out at noon or after work, there seems to be almost every day an opportunity.
Okay, and can I know Gulf Winds Track Club, they've got a Grand Prix, right? The track club, where
Yes.
there's certain races that we get points for, and we have an award ceremony. The Tri Club have something as well?
We do.
Okay.
Every year the Grand Prix is established, and that can be anywhere from 8 to 12 different races all around Florida. And some of them go up actually further into Georgia. But you get points for participating, and then you get awarded points based on how you perform in your age group and overall. But at the end of the year, we do a fun award ceremony, and people get a lot of loot, and you get recognition, and you get,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun and celebration.
I like the swim cap. I remember last year, I think we got swim caps, right? Or so I have a blue one. I think
Yes.
we did
Yeah.
for the age group things, right?
In fact, the award ceremony is coming up next Monday evening in lieu of our monthly January meeting.
And is it required when you go to the meetings that you have to eat pizza?
Well, I don't eat pizza, so if it is, I'm breaking the rules.
Okay.
They have calzone.
Okay,
and, And salad.
Sorry, I love momos. Yeah. One slice and then a salad,
Right.
and I'm good.
Yeah.
So also on the club, talk a little bit about volunteering, on the Tri Club. If you join, what kind of volunteer roles are there, if you don't mind?
Yes, we have some rules. To be a part of the Grand Prix, you have to volunteer, have some type of documented volunteering throughout the year. And the one thing about volunteering I wanted to say is we need volunteers.
Yeah.
There's just without volunteers, we couldn't do the group training, the open water swims. As you know, being a race director, it takes a whole village to put even just one race together.
Yeah.
So we're always in need of volunteers.
Yeah, and y'all, does the Tri Club have a dedicated race or two that you put your name on typically a year?
We do. In fact, we have the St. Mark's Duathlon coming up.
Okay.
And that's March 15th, and it's a perfect way for people to get into the sport. So if you're a little hesitant on the swim, it's just a bike run or a bike run.
Right.
There's only 2 legs in it, and there's a ton of support. You can do relays. You can do fat tire.
Okay.
It's
And,
easy.
and that's a great way to volunteer too. You can get out
Yes.
there and volunteer for that race, kind of see what it's like, right? The movements of that kind of race without the swim, which is great, right?
Yeah. The duathlon, we're really trying to push that, as our premier event. And
Okay.
like Tina said, you can ride a fat tire bike, you can ride a racing bike, mountain bike, whatever kind of bike you want. There's a category for you. Run, bike, run. And we have a social afterwards, a social opportunity. Someone will bring lots of food. It's just a great way to start the season or to get into the sport.
Nice. I think I've done that one once. I did it maybe
Really?
twice. No, I think I did it once with my first bike I ever had.
I remember that
No.
because you passed me on the second run. And he goes, sorry, Jeff. Something like that.
Yeah, with my shoe untied. By the way. But then I did it again once I got that new bike. A big difference, on the bike. So we'll talk more about the races later on and some training things and how we get fit for that. Board service too, right? So board members, it's important. Right? There's no paid help at the Tri Club. It's all volunteer driven. So how many board members do you have? What's the term if you're serving on the board? And if I were interested in being on the board, who do I talk to?
That's a great segue into what I was thinking about. Tina and I are both on the board this year. We've both been the past president before. I was president in 2015 and 2021. There is a president, vice president. There used to be a past president, but we did away with that position. We were running out of volunteers. And then we have, I believe, 5 board of directors that are at large that will handle certain duties like Grand Prix committee, social media, various aspects.
And what kind of commitment is it? Is it multi-year? You want us to be on the board for a couple years, 3 years, 10 years?
It's just an annual commitment.
Okay.
Yes.
Annual commitment?
Yep.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you're welcome to serve for 7 to 10 years if you like.
That's right. Because Mickey has not been on the board, has he?
I'm on board in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I know. You were
He's got his hands in a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
you're the busiest guy I know.
But no, I think it's a good point because it's hard, right? Again, knowing a little bit about nonprofits, it is hard for nonprofits to get board members that are committed for multiple years, multiple terms, right? And do the work. It's not easy. Because
Absolutely.
if you're a volunteer, that means you've got other things you do for a living.
Right.
And family.
Yes.
So I wish I could say it's surprising that, you're trying to find more board members, but that's a common theme, right?
We've been incorporated for 27, 28 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times the same people, are being recycled through the board.
Yeah.
So if you're listening out there, volunteer,
Sure.
It's a lot of fun.
And again, you don't have to be a member of the Tri Club, right? So if I'm a member of Gulf Winds Track Club, can I still join the board for the Tri Club? Obviously, the membership thing we can work out. But if I'm willing to serve, just call who?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can reach out to any of us.
Any of us, yeah.
It's gulfwindstry.com.
Okay.
There's an email address on there that you can reach right out. Also, our numbers are on the website as well, so you can talk to us individually if you'd like. But if you're looking to volunteer, a lot of people say, I just don't know what to do or how to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many opportunities and so many hats you can wear. Take whatever skill or your time. You can do marketing, writing, take pictures, packets. I mean, there's just a lot of ways, and it's so
Yes.
rewarding.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Let me put a plug in for our president.
Yeah, sure.
We have a new president this year. Her name's Joanne Maltese.
Mm-hmm.
You may know her, but she's a part owner of Hubs and Hops up in Thomasville.
Okay.
So she stepped up. I asked her a few months ago, and she was willing to step up to be the president this year.
Awesome.
And she brings a lot of skills to the table.
That's awesome. Well, I wish her luck in it. Last thing on the club that you want to mention, anything we haven't talked about yet before we transition and start talking about swimming, riding, and running as triathletes. Anything else about the club before we change subjects here?
If someone is out there and they're really interested in the inner workings of the club, we do have published bylaws.
Okay.
Just like the track club has a set of bylaws, the tri club has a set of bylaws that are different, that are similar but different than the track club. It's a great way to if you want to get in the nitty gritty of what our purpose is and meetings and the rules, all that stuff.
Okay. For me, I'll say, what the club has provided for me over the years, it is a smaller group, which is great, I think, from a relationship standpoint, and just kind of leaning on folks, for help, especially if you're new into the sport. That's one thing I enjoyed about y'all, being around y'all in the club, was just, it was friendly, it was quaint, super smart people, though, when it came to doing triathlons, and nobody had their head above anybody else. You know what I mean? Everybody was pretty cool about it. So I encourage folks to check out the Gulf Winds Tri Club. Go to their website. But let's talk a little bit about being a triathlete. Right? Again, and by all means, the two of you are afforded an opportunity here to toot your own horn if you would like to in some ways, because again, I think it lends to the things you're going to offer our listeners today, right? To know that y'all have been in the seats, right? You've been in the pools, you've been in the ocean, you've been on the seat, and you've been on the feet. You've done it a lot of times, okay, through a lot of miles. So don't be afraid. I'm giving y'all that free card to, toot your own horns today. So swimmers, cyclists, and runners, my first question about being a triathlete, if I'm out there listening, how do I get started? Like, what is your first out of the gate? How do I get started in being a triathlete?
I would say there are multiple ways to get started. If it was me, I was brand new, I would probably go to the internet, to Google, and say, hey, how do I get started in triathlon? Mm-hmm. ChatGPT is a great resource. It'll spell it right out for you. And then I would self-analyze, and I would say, have I been a swimmer? Can I swim? Mm-hmm. Can I ride a bike? Did I do that as a kid? Where am I as far as running? And then I would do more research and say, oh, okay, this is where I am. let's get rolling.
Yeah, I think especially the part of analyzing, self-analyze.
Yes,
I think I realized early on I wasn't a swimmer, so I realized I could run. I mean, but that's part of it, right?
Right.
So when you join the club and you start asking people, know what you can focus on and what to ask folks. I talked a lot about swimming with people. I mean, I remember having coffee with you and your wife before I ever asked y'all to be my coach for the
Right.
second time. It was just talking to you, talking to John Nash, talking to other people. And it was always around that swimming and transition thing because that's
Yeah.
where I was
Yeah.
wondering. But again, how do I get started? Like off the top of your head, if you remember back when you first got started, what advice would you give people just out of the gate becoming a triathlete?
I think we get so hung up in our head. That's the biggest obstacle, and when we're afraid. So I would say get out of your head and just have that 10-second of bravery of to just ask, be curious, and sign up. I mean, Jeff talks a lot about like the research and stuff. I'm more of a less methodical. I'm just going to sign up and then figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
So getting started, do you have a bike? Do you have a pair of shoes you can walk or run in? And you have something to get in the water and a pair of goggles. Well, I think we can overthink the equipment that we have. And if you just distill it down to you're just going to go on a run or walk, you're going to ride your bike, and you're going to jump in the water. You're going to be okay. You know?
Yeah, I certainly overthought the 3 disciplines.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's another piece of people, how am I going to have the time to do all 3? You know, that was something I had to get out of the way, and COVID helped because that's when I started. I had free time because a lot of things were shut down.
Yeah, that promotes the thought. I did my first triathlon in 1984, and I remember seeing an advertisement in Runner's World magazine. You know, there was no internet at that point. You know, we didn't have email or anything like that. So we would get our monthly Runner's World magazine, you know, and I'd flip through it, and there was an advertisement for a triathlon in the back of it. And it was actually in Tallahassee. It was like a mile swim out at Lake Bradford, 25-mile bike, and a 10K run. And I go, wow, that would be really cool to do. And so kind of kept it in the back of my mind. And I was in the military at the time. And when I got out...
Coast Guard, right?
Coast Guard, yes. I've spent 4 years doing search and rescue in the Coast Guard.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. So when I got out, lo and behold, FSU Intramural, they put on an annual event at the FSU reservation at Lake Bradford. And I signed up. I did my first sprint triathlon. And like the whole swim team was there, and I was so intimidated. And I made it through, and it was like that afternoon I'm thinking, wow, that was so cool. And that was it. The fire was lit. In fact, I even went for another run that afternoon. It's like I was so pumped.
What was your first one, Tina? Your first triathlon? You remember?
Oh, yeah, vividly. I had just come off of breaking both of my ankles on a surfing machine, and so I couldn't run all the time, and I had to kind of just expand, and came across our Red Hills Triathlon in April. So that week signed up, went on the internet. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a wetsuit. I found this horrible wetsuit, which was actually a diving suit, and I had no idea. It had like the what was the knee pads and the elbow pads on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I had no idea what I was doing. I breaststroke, side stroke, backstroke, any stroke, but I finished, and it was wonderful. I just got hooked.
What year was that?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
84, 16, 2020, 2021, I think was my first one.
So
it was the same race.
Yeah.
So Tina, the dive wetsuit, it's supposed to help you sink. It's supposed to help you sink. just an FYI.
There's no buoyancy in that one, but I'm impressed. You made it through, right?
I did. It was sketchy, and it wasn't pretty, but I did it.
I mean, just to make sure our audience doesn't miss that, right? Her first wetsuit she wore in a swim was one designed to help you sink.
Yes.
Not float. Anyway.
Did you wear the weight belt too?
So I'm such a fan now of triathlons because this weekend even our Gulf Winds team, the men's team, a friend of ours, it was on the team Camilo. He's in the track club, but he asked me if I was ever going to do a triathlon again. I'm like, yeah. And I said, have you done one? He said, no. I was like, why not? Sign up. I said, you can swim. You can ride a bike. Obviously, you can run. You're out here with us. And his eyes got real big, and it just reminded me I was that guy. a few years ago. So,
Right.
Okay, so let's dig. So we talked a little bit about how you get started, right? Do some research or just sign up and jump in. But certainly look at what you have and where you are swimming and riding. You got to have a bike, but you can ride a 10-speed. I've seen those, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the distance
sure.
you can do a 10-speed for now. And we'll talk more about that at the races in a few minutes. But what I want to jump to next, you hear a lot of things, right? There's some myths out there about triathlons. There's certainly some challenges, right? And we'll get some general advice in a minute. But if there were a couple, challenges and myths that you wanted to talk about for our audience today when it comes to triathlons, what would they be?
I think one of the biggest myths is you have to swim like Michael Phelps. You have to be an Olympic runner or super fast. You have to be fit and lean and in shape and have done this all your life. You don't. I think the wonderful thing about triathlon is it meets you where you're at. So if you don't have a lot of experience, you can go out there and just walk it. And it's an individual sport, but you never do it alone. So it's just you're always surrounded by all this encouragement and education and support. And it's just show up and just start.
I love that. Yeah. Meet you where you're at. That's great. And again, I've been humbled at triathlons. And the one thing, I remember our guest speaker a few months ago talked about body mass, remember? And he was going through it. And he was just talking about that's why you see so many different people at a triathlon. Mm-hmm. Small, short, bigger, smaller, doesn't matter because you're swimming, riding, and running, and that takes all types. You know what I mean? So wherever you're at, just do with what you got.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about was something that what Tina said jogged a memory that I had. First half Ironman I did, I was not having a good run at all, and I was doing a lot of walking, and here comes some 55-year-old woman, just cruising behind me. And it was amazing. You had every body shape and size. You had every age, from very young, fit college athletes to, overweight, 70, 80-year-old people. Mm-hmm. It was just amazing. And you still see that when you go to an event.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in the corrals at the swim, again, we all look around, right? We're all questioning ourselves, and then we're also looking at everybody next to us. And, I've seen guys 6'4", 280 pounds standing next to me at the swim, and they're like 10, 15 minutes faster than me in the water. I'm like, how are they moving that mass? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then on the bike, their power just, they're gone. And I know I might see them on the run, but the point is we can all do whatever we're good at to the best of our ability. So I love the triathlon for that reason. It's different people. And y'all met, I think both of you met my friend Chris, my high school buddy. He did his first Olympic. I think we were in, was it Volano?
St. Augustine Beach.
St. Augustine Beach over there. Perfect example, right? It meets you where you're at. He is not a, 1 hour, 30-minute half marathoner. He did it however slow he needed to do it. But it was the finish point. He got in the water, got out of the water, got on the bike, got off the bike, got in the run, got off the run. We're done, right? So anybody can do it.
I imagine he got a very huge sense of accomplishment from that event.
Yeah. So that's a good myth that you got to be Michael Phelps, you got to be Lance Armstrong on the bike, right? And you got to be Jeff Bowman on the run.
We're talking 40 years ago.
Yeah, sorry,
maybe.
What other? In the Speedo. That's true. He was back in the day. He was.
Yeah, did I show you that picture?
You hadn't.
So, any other myths? Anything people should just go ahead and get out of their heads before they start the process of being a triathlete? I'll make diverge a little bit. The swim,
sure. You got to make the swim. Mm-hmm. That you just have to. So that's a must. Contrary to what you might hear, you never see sharks in the swim or alligators. Mm-hmm. While you're swimming. So that's a myth that people propagate out there. And you don't have to have the best equipment. I mean, you can you had already mentioned, you can go grab your mountain bike or the bike you've been riding for 20 years, and get out there and go. You don't need a whole lot for the run. You just need your running shoes.
Preferably shorts.
Yes.
And a shirt.
Yeah. Well, and so you don't need a lot of fancy, expensive equipment. Although you can spend a fortune on the sport. but you don't need that.
Yeah, no, good point. I think that is almost a barrier. We talk about barriers to entry, and some people might look at it as the cost of doing triathlons is a barrier for me. So it's a great point. You don't need all the fancy stuff. My first bike, I think it was $300 or something. Was it an older bike? Yeah, it was, but it did the trick. But you've got a mountain bike, you can do whatever bike you got.
Yeah, and there was a point where $300 bike was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
Bikes today, a little different.
Yeah, it's just it's
But
like homes.
Yeah, but what do you want out of it too, right? If you're just in this to try something new and participate, you probably don't need the $10,000 bike, but that's good on you if you can do that. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
I think there's a tendency to think that if I don't have the perfect bike and the perfect shoes, then I'm not ready. You can. Miles are miles. If you walk them or run them, you're still finishing that.
I do have a story going back probably 30 years. So there was a duathlon I was doing. It was up in Cordele or somewhere up in Georgia. And, I was competitive. Of being competitive, you kind of look around and you go, well, that guy looks fast. That guy looks fast. And you look at the equipment, and there's this one guy that I'd picked out, and he was ripped. He had shaved his legs. He just looked the part. He was fast. He had a $5,000 bike. And after the race, I did fairly well, and I kept looking for him, and he came in dead last. So my point is, you can't, just because you have the equipment doesn't mean somebody is going to be an elite person.
Sure. Yeah, you still got to do the strokes and the pedaling and the running, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're the engine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those things are just going to be there still, right? Now, before I ask my next question, I will debate you a little bit on the shark piece, only because I saw video evidence at Ironman, Florida when I was there, right? Somebody from the pier, the sharks were in the water, but they didn't bother us swimming because, again, they don't want anything out of us either, but... Yeah, they're in the water, but it is true. You hear horror stories. Oh, don't be a triathlete. Don't, because the alligators and the sharks are going to get you. They're not. They're just as scared. And when there's 1,000 of us doing all this, they're like, I'm out, Just be faster than the last swimmer. That's what they say, right?
That's what they say, yes.
And, you'll see something on the news. The plane that lands is not news. So, of course, you're going to see worst case scenario. But
that's right. Yeah.
Right.
I think the other myth is I have to commit 3 to 4 hours a day. I was just talking to somebody about it, and they're like, God, what do you do, like 3 to 4 hours a day per, working out?
Yeah.
No, it's quality over quantity. Well, of course, if you're doing Ironman, you got to put in the time, but it doesn't take, you could get away with an hour, 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
Again, if you're in the club, or even if you're not, there are a lot of people with experience like yourselves. I don't know how many races y'all have done combined, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds, right? But we also have a lot of wonderful coaches too. And they'll help you build that training path, whether it's for an Olympics or a sprint or a half or a full, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, the distances involved. But, just set your sights accordingly and do what you need to do. And it could be 5 hours a week, or it could be 20 a week. Okay. And it does depend, and y'all probably agree with this, on what your goal is too. If your goal is just to finish, hey, you can do minimal to finish if you're not out there trying to compete. And you don't have to. Not everybody does. Just compete with yourself, whatever that might be.
Right. Yeah.
So let's see. Let's talk about a little bit, the challenges involved with training. Let's dig more on that training piece. So, again, we've got beginners, never done it before. You've got novice, intermediate, and you got experts. But if I were going to go swim tomorrow, what are the most important pieces I need to know about being an adequate swimmer?
Well, again, you want to self-analyze and say, have I ever swam? Can I swim across the pool? Can I do a 25 or a 50? We've helped people learn to swim that they'd make it halfway across the pool and then they were down. they were going under. Yeah. So you got to self-analyze. Were you a swimmer as a kid? If you swam any at all and you're confident you can make it across the pool a few times, you need a swimsuit, you need goggles, maybe a swim cap if you prefer, and then you would I would go to one of the city pools that have multiple lanes, like Truesdell has, buku lanes, or Myers Park, or, if you're a student, you can go to the FSU Elite Center. They have a bunch of lanes and an open swim time.
Yeah.
And, swim, again, back to where you think you are. Do a 50. How do I feel? Okay, do another 50. Do a few of those. Okay, let's do 100. Let's do 4 laps. See how I feel. Rest, do it again, and then you'll get to a point where you don't feel like you're getting tired. Maybe that's enough for day one.
We'll be right back. Hey, friends. I've been a member of Gulf Winds Track Club now since, I believe, 2007. And I became a member is because I was running 1 mile a day, 2 miles a day. And I owe everything to Gulf Winds Track Club to get me to where I am today as a runner. The fellowship, the friendships, the relationships, whatever you want to call it. But, it's also the learning. I got to train with others. I got to ask a lot of questions. I got to witness growth in others, and all because of the club. I've had lifelong friends, and we've traveled to places and done special races, and now my entire family, we're all members of Gulf Winds Track Club. So I invite you to visit gulfwinds.org, become a member too. Now, back to the show. Yeah, and the most underrated thing about swimming in a triathlon would be what? What's the most underrated? Is it your power? Is it your technique? Is it your breathing? What is it?
Swimming is probably 80% technique and 20% force, strength. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like golf. You can get very frustrated. That's why kids that learn to swim early on, they retain those stroke dynamics. So it's about breathing, balance, being horizontal, some rotation, rather than getting in and just overpowering the water, which you just can't do.
Okay.
So versus like maybe the bike, it's 80% strength versus 20% technique.
Okay. So if we'll go to the bike then. I guess nice segue, and both of you contribute, or it doesn't matter. But again, first time I'm getting on the bike. What's the most underrated piece? What's the most valuable thing I do first, just to start off on the right place, being on the bike?
Don't crash.
Yeah.
Again, you do that self-analyzation thing where, do I ride? Do I ride to school? Do I ride regularly? Mm-hmm. Where am I going to ride? Tallahassee is not the greatest place to train. I mean, it is once you get out of town, but in the city, there's a lot of traffic. Mm-hmm. You can do it on the trainer. You can get a trainer system, a virtual 3D system, which a lot of us have, and do a lot of your training that way. But if it was me, and I had a basic bike, and I wanted to start training for a sprint triathlon, a short triathlon, I'd go to the bike trail, the St. Mark's Bike Trail, and maybe do, what's the distance of the race, 10 or 15 miles, maybe see if I could do that distance.
Okay. And do I really need to worry about, again, talking about equipment, do I really need to worry about clip-ons at that time? Can I just ride a regular bike with my tennis shoes? Do I need the fancy helmet right now? Is that okay?
You don't need clip-ons.
Yeah.
The flat pedals
Yeah.
work just fine. Of course, you get more efficiency if you're clipped in.
Right.
But no, it's not necessary at all.
Okay. And again, technique and power. Is one more important than the other on the bike? I think you mentioned that a minute ago, but elaborate on that. Again, is it all about how big my thighs are, or is there a little more technique involved with it?
Tina knows what I'm thinking here.
Yeah, go.
No, it's force. You're pressing on the pedals, and you're having to move this mass.
Right.
And once you get going, the inertia helps a little bit, and then it's more technique. But yeah, you need some strength, and so strength training can help. Doing squats, single leg squats. There's a variety of things that you can do for strength, and then at the same time, you want to focus on pedaling. Being kind of synchronize both sides of your pedal stroke.
Yeah. The art of pedaling. What was that article you sent me? I read.
Yeah, it was. God, I can't think of the name of it. Yeah. But it talked all about pedal stroke, and you want to push and pull at the same time.
And pull. That's right.
And this isn't for everyone, but I like to pedal, thinking of pedaling in the horizontal plane, and so you're pushing forward and pulling back horizontally, and then while you're turning circles, versus pushing down and pulling up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a preference
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, I mean, again, on the bike too, just like in swimming and running, which we'll talk to in just a second, but, you've got to do strength and speed, conditioning, and endurance. You got to work out all three for that sport, right? So we talk about running. What's the first thing? If I want to get started doing a triathlon and running, what comes to mind?
Start slowly and build.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would go out if you're training for a 5K, try 1 to 2 miles. If you can't run the entire thing, it's okay walking. You can do a mix walk, run, just to get those miles in and build that base.
Okay.
But I think there's sometimes a tendency to want to go out too fast and too hard, and I'm just going to run 5 miles and see if I can do this, and then I'll know if I'm ready.
What's it like jumping off the bike though in that first run? Because that was always a question for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting off the bike. Like, how do you run when you jump off the bike? So what do you suggest for folks there? What do they need to do to help them with that transition?
I think the most valuable thing, and Jeff, I mean, gosh, we've been trained together for about 10 years.
Yeah.
He mentioned you need to do at least 10 minutes. Because once you get off the bike, you have jelly legs. That it feels very different running off the bike than just running individually. So getting off the bike and just running for 10 minutes, seeing how that feels to get your body acclimated to that transition. Okay.
And training, yeah.
Yeah.
It's known as doing a brick,
Okay.
in training. And so after your bike ride, you pop off, put your running shoes on, and you go out for a short run. And if you do that over time, I would prefer to run after our bike ride than just go out running fresh or cold. And I've kind of watched my distance over the years, and it takes about a quarter to a half mile of running after I get off the bike before I feel like I'm actually running and a runner.
Yeah, in the right technique and comfort,
Right.
Sitting in the saddle again. Yeah, I know it was hard for me to slow down because when I got off the bike, I'd start running and 6:30 pace. I need to slow down and work myself into it, right?
Right.
Especially keep your heart rate down before your heart rate, skyrockets. I may have done that once or twice too. Burned a match really quick. Okay, so we've got swimming, cycling, and running. Any other pieces of advice before we switch over to talking about the race itself and the different distances and transition and all that and nutrition? Being a triathlete, what is your best advice overall on being a triathlete?
I would argue it's not just 3 sports.
Okay.
You also have the transitions as part of the overall event. So you can and they are timed that way in most races. And so I would argue that you've got 5 disciplines for a triathlon, and the transitions like T1 from the swim to the bike, and then T2 is from the bike to the run, and practicing those transitions to because it's timed, you can make up a lot of time. And if you want to go one step further, for a longer race, I would argue that nutrition is another discipline that you need to be aware of.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Tina, any other last words as being being the best triathlete you can be? What would you say?
Be patient with yourself.
Okay.
Lend yourself some grace, because sometimes comparison can be that thief of joy. You look around, you're like, I'm not as fast as them. I didn't finish on the podium, or whatever those thoughts are. But it's your pace, it's your journey, and growth comes over time. You're not going to get it overnight. So just be patient.
Yeah, good point. And two, I don't think doing a certain number of races makes you a triathlete. Like, I started feeling like I was a triathlete just through the training for my first one. Mm-hmm. The fact that I could swim 1,000 meters, and the fact that I could ride a bike 25 miles, and then run 10 miles, and I did that for 4 months. I was like, wait, maybe I am a triathlete now. Hey, but I hadn't even done one race, So I think that's the other thing too, is people think they got to be out there competing in races to be a triathlete. No, you don't. Nope. If you're doing the exercises and you're consistent with it, you're a triathlete.
Right.
So kudos.
Yeah, for me, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm not racing a whole lot nowadays, but I still swim, bike, run, and do weights every week.
That's right.
Just because it's so ingrained into my life. One thing that Tina said about patience, and different manner, patience is like triathlon is all about patience, especially when you get to the longer events. And, you've done an Ironman, Mickey, and you did really well. I think you were the top Gulf Winds athlete that day at Ironman, Florida.
Thank you very much.
And you learned along the way, in a couple races, you didn't have as much patience as you should have had. And at Ironman, Florida, you put it all together. And, it's 11 hours for Mickey of being patient. And that was it,
Patience and reciprocity is
Yeah.
what we talked about, right?
Yeah.
And you let it go, and it'll come back to you later if you're patient.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. And I would say that's probably one of the hardest things for people to get.
Yeah.
It took me 45, 50 years to learn that,
Yeah.
because people just want to go. They want to get in the water and go, get on the bike and go.
Yeah.
And,
well, I will tell you, my coaches, Jeff and Annie, certainly drilled that into my head. And I can see myself right now on the bike. I remember that vividly. It's the longest part of the day, right? And I remember saying to myself, I can see on the bike when I was doing my nutrition saying, be patient. It'll come back. I had to say the words patience and reciprocity a couple times, but that does the work.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the mental aspect of the sport, period.
Right.
Right?
One of the best advice Jeff gave me actually was related to that, because you can get frazzled and you're beating the clock, and he said, calm is smooth, smooth is fast. And so to this day, every race I do, I'm constantly telling myself, calm is smooth, smooth is fast, and it calms myself down, and then because you start fumbling around and then it costs you more time. So.
Yeah. Once your mind starts going, and especially the longer races, it's other things follow. And so it's important to, whether it's with nutrition or just focus or training, to keep the mental aspect, the mental focus.
Yeah, things compound, and they can either compound in a negative way or they can compound in a positive way. So which would you have it?
Absolutely.
But it does take you a few times. And so segueing into races, let's talk about that third tri that we are today. We talk about triathlons themselves, right? So just to share with our audience, what types of races there are, what's the structure of a race, what are the typical distances of the race, maybe dig a little more on nutrition, some examples. And I'd also love to hear some superstitions, too, that y'all have when it comes to doing the races. Or I got to ask, I'll start off with this one. Triathlon, your favorite race you've ever done. What is your favorite triathlon that you've ever done? Or if you could run out of here tomorrow and do another triathlon, which one would it be? We'll start with that.
It's tough because they're all so
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
and it varies depending on where you're at in life.
Sure.
I would say the most iconic, probably exhilarating one was Escape from Alcatraz.
Oh, wow.
That was a really cool event. You just, every type of terrain possible, and they drop you off right at Alcatraz and you swim back.
No Clint Eastwood
And
there.
no.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, probably one of the most challenging ones,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Kudos to you, because I hear that water, again, is just
Oh,
one of the most difficult waters to get across, right?
It's frigid. I mean, you're in the 50s, and the current is so strong. I mean, you have to really look almost 20 degrees away from where you're trying to go, or else you're going to get carried away.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was it was a special event. And only 20% of the people that try and go into the lottery actually get in. So if you get the lottery ticket, it's like, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. Congratulations. And now you have to cross the bay.
I know better than putting in for the lottery.
Yeah.
I know about that race.
You're
but-
learning. So yeah.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Probably one that you've done, the St. George World Championship back in 2001 was pretty special, especially the way it transpired with, a big storm coming on the horizon, and then, the storm blowing through. And when we were out on the bike, I think, and, hail, and, the rain, it was coming sideways, and the transition area got destroyed, and it was crazy, but that was special. The terrain, when you were riding your bike and you look off in the horizon and you thought you were on Mars, it's just amazing. And then another one is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Me and Ann drove up there. It's almost up to Canada. that was a fairly special race as far as scenery. The lake there, mountain lake, and the terrain.
Nice. Yeah. No, thanks for saying St. George. I don't know that I thought I was in on Mars. I was in another place on that bike at 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
I was looking for another gear and I didn't have one. But St. George is special. That place is really cool. Never been to Idaho though.
Yeah, Idaho's it's a beautiful state.
Nice. Okay.
One quick comment about other races locally. We have the Panama City Half Ironman, if you're into that. I've done that a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. Also, Chattanooga is a very popular race and a very cool town to visit and hang out, and beautiful course. So I would put those races. Well, Chattanooga as far as a favorite. Yeah. Gulf Coast it's just so close.
Yeah, it is.
It's but it can be painful, as you know.
Yeah, it's hot. It's in May. Yeah. I mean, Wilmington, and again, we'll get back to our subjects more about digging on the races and structure, but Wilmington, I think, was a great place because it's October. The weather is usually really nice. It's right near the beach, and it's at a nice downtown, so post-race activities, a lot of restaurants and things.
Yeah, North Carolina, Wilmington, is the weather has been the exact same the last 6 years. 50 degrees, sunny. It's amazing. Every year it seems to be like that.
Nice. So when we look at triathlons together, if you could, for our audience, kind of tell them a little bit about the different structures, distances, and names of those triathlons.
Okay. So there is a super sprint. There's a sprint triathlon, there's the Olympic, and there's a half Ironman and a full Ironman. So starting from the beginning, your structure is the sprint triathlon. That's your shortest one. That's typically, you start out with about a 500-yard swim.
Okay.
So if you can think about the pool, it's 25 yards one length.
Okay.
So 500 yards, and then you're going to do anywhere from a 10 to 12-mile bike ride, and then you're going to do a 5K or a 3.1-mile run.
Okay. Great entry, right?
Absolutely.
Great entry distance. What do you add to that?
I want to add real quickly to that. One thing that I've thought of the last couple of years when you think of sprint triathlon, I think it's a misnomer because when you think of sprint, you're on the grass sprinting, but sprint triathlon might take an hour and a half.
That's
so that's a long time. So if you were doing an hour and a half run, you're doing a half marathon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's interesting, the nomenclature behind sprint triathlon. Why don't you just call it short triathlon?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
So, I just wanted to make that
so that's the entry.
That point.
So 500 yards, 10 to 12 bike, 5K. And then the next one you jump up to which one?
You're at the Olympic level. So that's typically 800 to 1,200 yard swim.
Or 1,500, roughly.
Yeah, it varies depending
Up to
on
a
each
mile.
location. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they call it Olympic, or it started with Olympic because that's the distance of the in the Olympics. I think that's how they equated the name with that distance.
Okay. Yeah.
So after that, then your bike is typically about 28 miles, 25 to 30, anywhere around there. And then you have a 10K run.
Okay. So jumping up a little bit.
70.3 half Ironman. So when people think Ironman, they think of the long one, the full one. But there is a half.
Okay.
You're doing a 1.2 mile swim, a 56-mile bike, followed by a half marathon, so 13.1 miles.
Okay.
And you're talking 5 to 6 hours typically. 4:30 if you're super fast. So it's like half a day.
Yeah,
race.
but I mean, again, beginners, if you could be, I think there's an 8-hour maybe cutoff, right, for a half?
Yes.
I think it's around 8 hours.
Eight
so
and a
you
half-
still
eight and a
have,
half.
If you're at 6 hours, good. You still got 2 more to go. So walk, run it if you need to, right?
Right.
At the end.
Exactly.
Right. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And then the big daddy, full Ironman. And we're all smiling. 'cause
The bucket
we-
list. The bucket list.
Yes.
So
that's
how many have you done full Ironman?
only one.
Good. That's a great number.
One and
Jeff?
done.
I think I've done 12.
Okay.
12 fulls and 55 half Ironmans over the years. But that's spread out over...
Since 1984.
Yes. So a lot of years.
That's right. Okay. So distances again on the full Ironman are?
You're doing a 2.4 mile swim, 112 bike and a 26.2 run, full marathon.
Amazing.
Well,
And that's where things get real.
it's not really a marathon at that point.
It's a walk.
It's survival.
It is. Yeah, yeah.
Unless you're Mickey. Then it's a run.
I got lucky. It was a great day, right? Okay, so those are the distances, right?
Yeah.
I would say I like the 70.3. You know, you can get trained up for that because it's the training's not as much from a time standpoint as a full for me. But also the day, I still get part of my day back.
Right.
Because, you know, that full Ironman, that's an all-day
That's your
event.
day.
That's your whole day.
You
going
can't
in that.
even eat dinner that night.
Yeah.
You go back to the hotel and you pass out.
Yeah.
You order pizza and then you fall asleep before the pizza gets there. and that's a true story.
Yeah.
I actually have another story. if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind.
We like stories. Go.
Okay. So 2016 Ironman Chattanooga, I participated in, and I thought I was in better shape than I was. And this happened to be the hottest day ever there, a record heat day. It was over 100. Did the swim. It was downriver, no problem. On the bike, second loop, it was so hot. It was like my head was frying. I actually stopped at a convenience store and bought a Coke in the middle of the race because I had the craving, and I knew that a convenience store was coming up. So I get off my bike, I park it, and I walk into the convenience store. I had money on my bike, and I bought my Coke. And the guy goes, "You should be in that race out there," because I had my helmet on and everything. I go, "I am in the race out there." So I get back on my bike, merge back in the long line of cyclists, and kind of raise my Coke. Finish the bike. It's 120 degrees in the transition area. And so I'm sitting there, and I sit there for about 10 minutes, and I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? So it's like my mindset's just get out the transition and start moving. And then I'm calculating, how long is it going to take me to walk 26.2 miles? And I go, nope, that's just, can't do that. That's just, that ain't going to work. So I started running for 1 minute and walking for 3 because I had my alarm set. I had reversed what I originally intended to do, and that was doable. And I got through the race. And so I'll try to condense this.
Yeah.
After the race, I was so tired. I wanted a milkshake. I was craving a milkshake. And so my wife, Ann, and son, Alex, went to get me a milkshake. Well, they took off, but they also took the key to the hotel. So I go into the hotel, and I'm just wiped out. I lay down, third floor. I lay down in the hallway and fall asleep. And I hear people walking by, and they're whispering. And then I finally hear the elevator, and I hear my son's voice, "Mom, Dad's dead."
Probably looked like it.
Yeah. So they open the door, and I swear I crawl in the door and crawl up on the bed. She picks my feet up, and I was gone.
What I hear, and that's a great story, what I hear about on that race day is your ability to adapt. And you have to when you're doing these endurance events. You just have to recognize where you are, change a plan, because the end of the day, you want to finish, right, if you can.
Right, exactly.
Everything goes. And I told somebody this morning, we were talking about goals in running. I said, always have multiple goals for a race, with the last one being finish, okay? And if you got to get rid of the other ones, then that's fine. So your adaptability there, I think, is what comes through.
Yeah. One more addendum to that. So I'm out on the course, and you need motivation. Like exactly what you're thinking. Finish and go. I kept looking down at my number, and there's a little tab on it that they would pull off at the finish line to get the shirt, the finisher shirt.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm getting that shirt. I'm getting that shirt. I just kept saying that over and over.
Nice. So I also like to talk about when we, these big races or triathlons, if you're going to do them, superstitions. Do you have any superstitions when it comes to race day or the night before the race? Because I know sometimes because for me, I'll do the same foods. Like I don't change up my foods in the morning or the way I do my dress and throw out my clothes the night before. I try to do things in an orderly fashion at the same time. I don't do the fried chicken thing like Wade Boggs does for the Red Sox or Yankees. But do you have any superstitions you want to share?
That's I'm drawing a blank as far as superstitions. I'm pretty bad sometimes about not being uniform and kind of winging it. So,
well, there's something to be adaptable, which is good, but
right.
there's also something for consistency, right?
Well, I would say you do want to be consistent. And you want to know what works, and you want to have practiced it. You want to have eaten a pre-race meal, and training before a long training day. to know that your body can handle that. I'm pretty resilient, so I know I can pretty much do anything, and I'll get through. But
Okay.
superstition, I can't think of anything.
No, I don't really have superstitions. I
Yeah.
have patterns and things that I always do before then,
Now you can call them superstitions. So, all right. So, general advice then on race day. Okay. So, what would that be? Right. So, again, this is my first race. Race day. I've already done the training. Here I am, right? The morning of, packet pickup, getting ready to go to the corral. What are your top 1 or 2 pieces of advice for race day?
I would say back it up to the night before and put all your stuff out. Lay it out, whether it's nutrition, like the flat person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can get a visual of all your equipment. And I've done that and realized, oh my gosh, I forgot socks.
There's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
And especially in a triathlon.
Okay.
Right. And the distance, whether you're doing the sprint or the full, you still need the same equipment.
Right.
The nutrition
Yeah.
changes, but you still need to go through that checklist. So starting the night before and laying everything out to be prepared. Be early. There's nothing
Exactly.
worse than just being stressed
Yeah.
out. And I think that where it was at one point where, I think it was the national championships in Nebraska, and I thought I was early, but there was traffic. They had to delay the race 2 times because traffic was backed up so much. So you can just see all these cars, and they're starting the race in 30 minutes. You're not even through transition. So allow time for traffic, for any kind of mishap.
The unforeseeable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just don't create that additional stress by being late.
Nice. Okay. Lay out your stuff. Be early. How about for you?
I created, over the years, a Excel spreadsheet that I categorize things: swim, bike, run, miscellaneous. And I have another story to tell you. I'm going to try to make it quick. So every time before any race, regardless of distance, I will make sure everything's checked off.
Yeah.
It's either in my bag or in the car.
Yep.
Well, we were going over to Destin. This is many years ago, and staying with a friend, and we're doing a race called the Elephant Walk, which was now the Sandestin Triathlon. He saw my list, and he was making fun of it. You don't need that. And this guy probably could win the race. He was a pro triathlete, level elite. So the next day, I checked everything off. The next day we get there, and what does he forget? He forgets his helmet because he didn't. He
Right.
poo-pooed my list, right? So we start the race. He's looking for a helmet when the gun goes off. And so I don't see him, expect to see him. And I see him when I'm going on the run. He's coming in on a bike with a little kid's helmet.
Yeah,
Someone had given him a kid's helmet. And so, he was way down in the rankings. And so when I left his house, I taped my Excel spreadsheet printed copy on his refrigerator, and I circled helmet.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I like to do, is check
Yeah.
my list off.
1,000%. Every time we go anywhere, any race, I always write them all down. And the best piece of advice I had was, organize it by the discipline.
Right.
Swim, and I list all the things I need for swim, bike, etc. And yes, you certainly forget something once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question here on race day. Generally speaking, your best advice on nutrition, right? Because again, especially if you get into the half Ironman, full Ironman stuff, that's different. Sprint triathlons, not worried too much about your nutrition that day. That happens the day before and the night before and some other things. But when you get into half Ironman and full Ironman, what are your top 2 suggestions, advice on nutrition for race day?
Good.
I've learned the hard way, and I've tried new things on race day. I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
That's one of those no-nos.
Cardinal
Yeah.
sin.
Never try anything new.
And
race day.
it's so tempting when you go into the expos. They have all these fancy new stuff and new flavors, and you want to try it, but you shouldn't do that for the first time because you don't know how your body's going to process it. But protein, half your body weight in ounces per day, and especially when you're racing, getting that in your body.
Recovery, that helps with recovery.
Yeah.
For sure.
And another thing that I learned is minimizing the fiber.
Okay.
No salads, at least 48 hours before.
Okay.
It's just whatever your body's used to. And I think you have to find what your body processes
Right.
efficiently.
And again, this is why you two are here, because you're speaking through experience, right? It's not something, again, I love Google and Runners Magazine and Triathlete America magazines or whatever, but until you're in the seat and you've done it, you kind of know these things too.
Yeah, and
Right.
I paid full price for some of those mistakes. I mean, one of them, I was doing the 70.3 and I missed qualifying for Worlds because I think I had a salad or something the day before, and those you waste all the time in the portalettes, and it just it was so frustrating. But
Yeah.
I'll never make that same mistake again.
Yeah.
It's such a individual thing, nutrition, and I would have no problem with a salad and some meat, chicken or whatever.
Right.
The nutrition thing I mentioned earlier, it's like a whole separate discipline, especially the longer races. A short race like a sprint, I would still carry a bottle with me on the bike. I would eat normal breakfast, whatever you're used to eating, and then carry something, maybe a little bit of carbs in it.
Yeah.
Because you're still talking an hour and a half race. My general rule is anything over an hour, you need to fuel. You need the fuel. The longer races, it's trial and error. What works for you is not going to work for someone else. It's to take small amounts the whole time.
Yeah.
You want to start with fuel, and then the greatest opportunity to fuel is going to be on the bike. Mm-hmm. And so you practice fueling on the bike, and everything that you take in, it's so that you can run.
Nice.
and even pacing. Pacing and nutrition are the two things that people mess up and have to walk on the run.
Yeah, you got to fuel on the bike so you can run.
Right, and that's what you want to keep in mind. And there's a myriad of products out there, and they'll break it down into the number of carbs per hour. It used to be 60 grams of carbs per hour, but then the pros, they came out with new products, and so the pros are they're doing like 120 now.
Yeah.
And that's why there are records being broken all over.
Yeah, nutrition, it is relevant to the individual.
Yes.
I agree with that. You find what works for you, what you like to eat, what you like to drink, and that settles with you well, right? I did tell TJ and Tanya, I saw them yesterday. I told them, I said, my triathlon, Ironman experience specifically prepared me for my 100-miler, because that nutrition day prepared me for the 100-miler, because I knew I had to keep eating. Because I had to eat for the first 50 miles so I could do the second 50 miles. Even though you don't feel like eating, you got to eat, because at mile 85, it's too late if you haven't eaten, right? You starting to sound like a coach or something talking about nutrition, Jeff. I don't know why. But.
Well, there's they call it fueling forward.
Yeah.
You want to think about, if you're doing a multi-day event, you want to think about fueling on day one. You're fueling for not just the event that day, but also for the next day.
Yeah. Fuel forward.
And you can't play catch up.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
One of the things that regardless of the distance and regardless of what you eat, race day, 2 hours before race start, I always make sure I'm finished my breakfast. I always make sure it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just to allow yourself time to process.
To process it, yeah, on point. Well, thank you. Try again, right? Good conversation today about the Tri Club, Gulf Winds Tri Club, talking about being a triathlete, right? Some advice there and how to go about being a swimmer, becoming a swimmer and a cyclist and a runner, and then finishing off with the race itself, right? Some race day tips. I'm sure our audience and me are walking away today with some better understanding, some education, some entertainment, and some encouragement to become a triathlete at some point. And again, if anybody out there listening wants to learn more, just go to the Gulf Winds website, right, and look it up all there. Reach out to me, reach out to Tina or Jeff. But I'm so grateful to have both of you on the We Run This Town podcast today. So thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of We Run This Town podcast, the official podcast of Gulf Winds Track Club. For more information on the club, whether that be membership, upcoming races, or to listen to more episodes, visit gulfwinds.org. Remember, whether you're an elite runner or a beginning runner, together we run this town.